you have to take responsibility for everything that happens in your life, good or bad. And you have to know, even if it's just your mindset or this stuff, whether it's like a health problem, okay, how much did you contribute to that with your diet and your lifestyle habits and whatever?
Absolutely.
If it's, you know, bad things that happen to you, horrible people that come in your life and do horrible things to you, it's like, okay, well, did you see red flags?
Welcome to Built with me, Katie Chunghwa. Listen every week as I talk with athletes, entertainers, and entrepreneurs about how they built who they are today and get the inside scoop about their lives. Hi, and welcome back. Today I have a special guest for you. Not only is she my friend, but she is also my ex-roommate. She is from my hometown. She is a fitness model, trainer, gut health expert, the one and only Whitney Johns. Today we're going to be talking about what it's like growing up in Idaho, why she chose fitness, her success tips, and how to build a body like hers. Whitney Johns, aka my good friend Winifred, who
Okay,
I have
roommate.
known who I have known for 15 plus years.
Yeah. I mean, we also knew of each other before we actually spoke, like with
Yeah,
the whole high
so
schools
yes.
sort of
So those
thing.
of you who don't know either of our pasts, we are both from Idaho and we went to rival high schools and we knew of each other. We had some mutual friends, but Centennial and Eagle did not like each other
Nope.
at all. So no,
But I heard about that Katie Barnes.
yeah. I just heard about this gorgeous girl, Whitney, and I was like, I don't have to compete with her because I'm over here at Eagle. So, and then we officially met and became roommates in LA, 5 years ago? And that's when things really started to click for us and we became friends. And I've seen you grow into this strong, successful woman over the years. And I'm so proud of you. And I love what you've done. I can tell that you're very passionate about what you do. And that's why I wanted to bring you on the show. I know that not everything is easy and you make it look easy, but you're also very transparent and you're very honest. And so I'm excited for this interview. I can't wait for everyone to learn more about you and how you have built who you are today.
Thanks, Mama. What an introduction. Damn.
It's easy. It's easy when you got a resume like yours. So let's rewind and let's go back to talk about where you came from. I may know how it is, but let's let our listeners know a little bit what it's like to grow up in Idaho and you have family in Utah, so kind of the Midwest.
Good old Boise, Idaho. Actually, we call it the Northwest, right? Everybody always thinks Idaho
Northwest.
is the Midwest because it just sounds like it's just grouped in with the Midwest kind of vibe, which it sort of feels that way, but it's a lot of mountains and beautiful things like that. This is like one of the reasons why I am such a mountain person and I need to get back to them all the time. And I have to get out of the city a lot. But yeah, grew up in Boise, Idaho. Between Idaho and Utah, actually. And I grew up LDS, Mormon, for a lot of people who don't know what that is, which was really interesting. And it really kind of built a lot of character and experiences and sense of humor and trauma, all of it. I'm really glad that I grew up that way. I grew up super conservative and very, had to be by the book on a lot of things. And that's not really my personality in general. And so I had to, I guess, learn at a young age that I had to stand on my own and figure out what I believed. Because if I didn't, I was just going to be, thrown around in life by what everybody else wanted for me or expected from me. And so I think, as much as um, I'm glad that I am not in the church anymore. I'm really glad that I was raised that way in a lot of ways because it helped instill so many different values. I think a lot of my work ethic comes from growing up there, like, and just integrity as a person and trying to stay humble. Like a lot of those values, I really accredit to growing up that way. But I also am glad that I kind of had to break out of that. You almost become a little bit like a social outcast in that world because it's so, especially in those areas, because it's so heavily, predominantly LDS. And so you're kind of cast out a little bit from the community in general. and you're judged. You can be judged, and sort of like turned away. And so, in a lot of ways, I'm glad that I had that experience, as painful as it was and kind of confusing as it was, because I just really had to learn how to be my own person from an early age and really just have to like learn, like basically I really had to do a better job of not judging myself because I hated being judged by everybody else. So you kind of have to become your own ally in a situation like that. So that's sort of growing up Mormon in a nutshell. In terms of just Idaho in general, I grew up loving going shooting, going hunting with my dad, going to the mountains, fishing, camping, all that stuff. I still try to do that stuff whenever it's possible. I'm not the best camper ever. Like I'm still like I'll overpack even for camping. Like my brother's like, "Why'd you bring your hair dryer?"
Like there's no outlets here. I'm
I'm like,
confused.
"Oh shit, there's no like electrical outlets in the outhouses or anything." But yeah, I loved it actually. I really
Yeah,
loved
and I can relate to a lot of those things. I think the church definitely gives everyone some good structure, especially when you're growing up trying to learn right from wrong. It is important to get your own voice at some point in your life.
100%.
And I think that sometimes people are easily swayed and can just follow others as far as what others believe or what others want to do or what they think is right or wrong. So it is important that you do find your own voice. I think
Mhm.
that it reflects kind of on who you are and how you were able to stand out from a crowd today. But how did you really decide, I guess, on fitness?
So I started lifting weights when I was like 16 years old, 15 years old, going to the gym with my dad because I tried everything. I tried team sports, I tried cheerleading, dance. I was like embarrass myself at all of them for some reason. I just was like uncoordinated in this way where like if someone told me how to move, I can't. Like I'm super awkward. I think too much. So, but once I got in the gym with my dad, I was like, okay, this helps me kind of express my athletic energy. Like I have a lot of physical energy in general, and I didn't know how to express it. So once I got into the weight room, I was like, oh, I love this. And I can sculpt my body and I feel more empowered. So I really fell in love with fitness in general from a young age. And then I tried a lot of different things. I tried um, marketing, sales. I did phone sales at one point. I tried acting. I did some modeling stuff. I tried so many different things, and everything that I would try was like, oh, this is like a soul sucking experience working in an office or whatever the case may be. Even like when I tried to move to LA and do some acting stuff, I was like, okay, not it for me. Like I don't
I
love.
did that
Yeah,
whole acting thing.
yeah,
Not only is it like constantly like, no, you're not good enough, and you have to just kind of like embrace that, but it
right.
was kind of like, I would rather just be myself. Like you put myself on camera and I can just express myself freely. I can just say what I want to say. Like that
Exactly.
to me was way more enjoyable than having to go and like read a script.
Totally. Well, and it's funny because even when I look back now, because once I finally tried all these different things and then decided, okay, what would I die for? Like, what would I do for free? What do I love so much that it wouldn't even feel like work? And it was always fitness for me. Like, I was always super interested in it. Um, but now that I look back at all of the skills that I now use in what I do today, everything that I tried from the sales job, the phone sales, from marketing skills to even the acting skills and knowing how to kind of like present and all that stuff, all of that now I use in what I do now. So it's cool to see it all kind of come full circle. You just have to try everything and then just get all those skills, put them in one big bag, and use all of those strengths that you've created from the little things that you ended up not pursuing. So I'm glad that I had that. But, even as a kid, I grew up with a lot of chronic pain, migraines, anxiety, depression, mental health issues, a lot of just like inflammation in the body, gut health issues, all this stuff. And it was something that I had to myself go in and investigate because we didn't have all the money in the world to go to doctors and figure out what was wrong with me. It was like you would go get these tests. They're like, well, you don't have cancer, so get over it. You know what I mean? And it was like, I don't feel good. I didn't have like a high quality of life. And I realized I was just very sensitive to a lot of different things. I needed to get my gut health on track. I needed to really work on my mental health and nutrition and herbal supplements and holistic medicine was something that I really had to teach myself and just do all this research on, because that was the only way my quality of life was going to go from shit to great. And so not only did weights and lifting and the fitness side of it, working out, but the nutrition and the holistic side of it, like literally saved my life. And so to combine both of those, it literally helped me get my power back. And I think that was the thing. I had felt so powerless in so many different ways through just childhood trauma or growing up in the church and feeling totally judged or just life. It happens to everyone when you get your power taken away and like all these health ailments I had and mental health and all this stuff. It was like, oh, okay, all of these tools that I'm learning, I'm literally putting the power back into my hands to, you know, live the life that I really feel the best living. So that was why now it's such a passion project for me too. My work is, I work my ass off, but it's also like, I love it. And I like to share what I've learned. And so I'm glad it doesn't feel like arduous work all the time.
Yeah.
It feels like what I'm interested in anyway. So I like it.
When you were going through this whole transformation and kind of you're talking about feeling like you had your power back, did anyone help you along the way, or is that something that was more of a self-discovery?
Oh, a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people helped along the way. I had different mentors and even people that would help show me, training tips, or I had like holistic doctors that I had worked with, or my mom was super into kind of holistic medicine and essential oils and just natural solutions to issues. Even to like ex-boyfriends, my ex-fiance was um, extremely instrumental in helping me get out of that kind of Mormon atmosphere and allowing me, it gave me a safe space to really figure out who I was, what I truly believed without having to be dictated to, right? So I have so many people like angels along the way that I feel like are guardian angels that help me get to where, I could really stand on my own. I mean, I still need mentors and guardian angels because I can't stand on my own all the time. Like I need help all the time to this day. So
Listen, I don't think anyone is perfect. I don't think anyone is as strong as, let's say, social media perceives them to be. So I
yeah,
don't think that there's anyone that goes in this life that doesn't need help or that doesn't need or want someone to be there for them. So in
100,
order to just kind of embrace that and accept that, I think helps people. But
100.
when you and I lived together in LA, you were
The
training
golden days
the golden days.
in Hollywood.
We were in Hollywood. Justin Bieber used to go to church next to us. You know, it was
Still, still didn't motivate me to go to church.
this is
Not
crazy.
even Justin Bieber could get me there. Just kidding.
So you at the time you were training for your first WBFF show.
Yeah. Oh yes.
You were working multiple jobs, one of them a newly trainer. And I just remember you would be up at 5 a.m. and you would be going to bed. I don't even know what time, but you were always on the go. You were always doing stuff. You're always on the move. And every time that you were home, I noticed that you had some sort of podcast on. And it was like a self-help podcast, advice podcast, tips on growing your business, whatever it may be. I think that you hadn't competed on a show one time and you asked, you're like, hey, can I like borrow your trophy? I'm just trying to like manifest some things. And
Well,
I remember watching you go through this and now where you are now, seeing how all those little things helped you become successful. And so
oh
that
my
being
God, this is like giving me chills. What you're
listen, I'm just reflecting on your life for you.
saying. Wow.
So speaking nothing but the truth. But what are your reasons you think that you have been so successful? Or if you want to kind of generalize it, what do you think makes someone successful?
I think it's really interesting because Well, thank you very much, first of all, because those are very nice observations. And I think one thing that I would say I attribute a lot of my success to is that that hunger. Like I was hungry. I was like obsessed with improving my situation, improving my mind, improving my body, improving my skill set in my work, and, making more money. Like it was like, I think it's in a lot of ways that hunger and that drive, it's like, I don't even know if it's just stubborn will or what. Um, but it made me kind of look at through a lens of life of like, okay, how can I get better, because I'm not exactly where I want to be now. How can I get there? And it's literally like a lifestyle. It can't just be from 9 to 5. It's literally like all day every day. Like that's how I looked at it, and that's how I still look at it. And I do think that that's a big part of my success because I'm wired that way. I guess it comes from also experiences where I again was in a position where I felt powerless, or I was broke, or I was, you know, just kind of dying to get into a better place than where I was at. And knowing, okay, the pain of where I was is something I never want to go back to. So that helps drive me. I struggle a little bit with balance sometimes because I can definitely burn out because I have that. So I have to watch that now, and I'm doing a better job of just like giving myself permission to relax and be like, okay, rest is just as important as the work ethic. And it's literally like, if you drive yourself into the ground, how valuable is your work ethic if you're just like completely burnt out? So I think it's a nice balancing act that I'm still working on mastering. um but yeah, I think it's just sort of like, even now I never understood, like when, for instance, we're in quarantine, right? And a lot of people are talking about how bored they are at home, like sitting on their ass eating like Cheetos all day. And I'm like, okay, first of all, first of all, how is anyone ever bored? Like I've never understood that, because, and maybe that's just because of the way I'm wired. It's kind of like you. It's like, okay, I'm not just gonna sit around. I'm literally going to do something with this time, even if it's just like, even if I'm not getting paid for it. It doesn't have to be that you're working all the time, but like you can always be improving, whether you're like listening to a podcast, or you're working out, or you're developing a business plan, or you're reaching out to contacts for networking and relationships. And it's just like there's never a shortage of things to do. So that's why I guess I just never had that mentality of just like, oh, I have nothing to do today, or it's a day off, I'm just gonna stick my thumb up my ass all day. I've just never had, I don't understand that mentality. So it's a blessing and a curse, I guess. But I do attribute a lot of that kind of where I've gotten to today from all of that, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to note that you reflect back on the time where you're like, I was powerless, I didn't have anything. And those are the times where you look back and you're like, hey, this was actually a blessing in disguise.
Hmm.
And this is what put a fire under my ass. This is what makes me either A, not want to be there, or B, I have no money and I need to make a living.
100%.
So there is that balance of, hey, I don't want to go back to how I was, but then there is that like genetically wired mentality that you're talking about where you're like, no, I'm just a hustler, I'm just somebody who wants to be more. And that's kind of something
Yeah,
my life that I reflect on is, I always remember this quote that I read somewhere, and it was like, I don't want to be an almost was. And I think
totally.
about that all the time because I don't want to be an almost successful person, or she was almost this, or she got so close. No, I want to be that person. I want to be the best, and I want to be the best me
Yeah,
personally.
totally. Like you did as much with your potential as you could. Like
Yes.
that was my thing, is like wasted potential is such a tragedy, I think, to
That's
see.
my biggest fear. When
Yeah,
people ask me what my biggest fear is, it's to
wasted.
not reach my full potential.
100%. And it's so sad to see that. And I also like, I can even be hard on myself sometimes where I'm like, you have, there's more in there. Like, get your shit together. But Yeah, I hear you. I think a huge experience that really rattled me to the point where I think it put me permanently in this mindset because it rattled me so much. Um, and I'm so grateful for the experience. And again, so I was with at what, 21, okay, fresh out of like college. Um, I was with a person. I was engaged actually, and he was amazing. He provided for us, and it was like that mentor kind of like where he gave me that safe space to figure out who I was, what I believed, all that stuff. But I started to get a little bit, I guess, comfortable with him financially providing for us, sort of living in his world. It was really comfortable and it was great. I was like, I can get used to this, you know? And then once I realized, okay, that relationship had phased out and I needed to move on because we both needed to move on. And it was, we both needed to go our own separate ways. But then I was stuck in this situation where I was like, okay, but then how am I going to pay my bills? And where the fuck am I going to live? And what am I going to do? And oh my God, it was this panic of just like, I can't get out even when I want to because I'm trapped. And I felt totally dependent on him. And he was doing such a nice thing for me, but it was also like, I, I like learned such a harsh lesson of just like, I will never again feel like I don't have the freedom to just go and do whatever it is that I need to do ever again. I'll never feel like I have to be like restricted because I'm reliant on somebody else. So from that moment on, I was like, you know what? It was a really valuable experience because from then on, I swore off the sugar baby situation. I was like, fuck that. No, that will never be me because you are literally signing up for slavery. And you might find a really nice, you know, slave owner. He might be nice to you, but you're still a fucking slave. You know what I mean? So um that was a huge lesson to me of just like always make your own money, no matter who your partner is, no matter how well off they are, no matter how well they do, no matter how much they want to provide for you. Great. Take all that, but always have your own bag. Like always have your own bag. Because then also even with relationships that you are with that person because you want to be with them, not because you need them. So I think that was a really big motivator. And that's when I moved to LA and I just like, I'm going to hustle my ass off. I'm going to work 3 jobs. I got very little sleep because I was like, okay, I did bottle service at night. I worked a sales job, a phone sales job that I had to be at the office at 7:30 in the morning after going to bed at 4 in the morning on bottle service nights. And then I was working to get certified as a personal trainer and like trying to build my clientele there. So it was like constant, but I think it ingrained that work ethic in me from then on of just like always have your own shit.
Yeah, in one of my other episodes, we talk about how you can be motivated, but that motivation will be gone. But if you're disciplined, then that's different because that's an automatic. So you wake
Totally.
up, you do your job,
Just
do what
have it.
you do,
Yeah.
and it's a habit, and you get it done. And so, yeah, you've created this lifestyle where you've disciplined yourself over the years, and you have your motivators. Like, no, I'm going to always be independent. I'm always going to be able to be self-sufficient,
Mhm.
and you're going to be successful because of that. I feel like I've had that outlook too because I've seen my mom, and I think maybe it's just that generation. Women were so reliant on men,
Totally.
and their relationship was not good. And I saw her kind of get trapped in a position where she wouldn't be able to leave if she wanted.
Totally.
And I remember as a young kid being like, no, that'll never be me. And
Um,
trust me, I'm probably like the extreme where I'm like, no, do not help me. I don't need you. Or maybe I could like give up a little bit on that. But
no.
I do think that this generation of women are so strong, and maybe because they have learned that
Yeah.
from previous generations.
Seen the hard lessons learned and just like, okay, well, that's not going to be me.
Yeah, absolutely. Do
Yeah.
you remember when we used to joke about when we would scroll on Instagram and you could tell by the person's face that they just would start to feel bad about themselves? So, for the people listening, Whitney and I used to catch each other and we'd call each other out because we would be like, I'd be scrolling on Instagram and then you see the super pretty girl, and then you see the super fit girl, and then you see the girl on vacation, and your face goes to like this enjoying Instagram thing to like,
To like
God, what is
anxiety of like, I'm a loser.
like, don't look like her. She's so pretty. I need plastic surgery. I need to go to the gym. Why don't I have more money? And so you see it physically on people's faces going
I'm
through.
like, Katie, you're doing it again.
Yeah,
Because
like stop it.
it'd be like, huh? And it'd be like,
And even our other roommate, we would be like, hey, look at Lindsay. She's totally on Instagram right now. We can tell. And
because
so
the
my point of
comparison
that,
trap, it's such a like losing battle because
yes.
no
And
matter
so
what, you can find something to
people,
look
yeah, and people looking at you saying, Whitney's so fit, she's traveling, she's beautiful. And I know, just because I know your friend, I'm your friend, is everyone goes through those comparing each other to other people. How is that something that you handle?
at. For myself, looking at others and feeling like shit, I would say I just have to remember like, and it's hard because sometimes I actually have a guilty conscience about this too, because I am also showing my highlight reel and like not the struggle all the time. And there's a fine line between being super transparent and being extremely open about your own struggles. But I'm also like kind of a private person too. And I don't like sounding like a victim either. So I have this hard balance of like, how much do I share of the rough shit? And how much is it just that people are going to look at it and be like, wah, 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 like, oh, poor you, right? So it's a really hard balance to find of like showing your best and then being open enough and vulnerable enough, but not asking for pity also to share your struggle. So that's something that I struggle with all the time. I'm like, okay, am I contributing to people's self-esteem issues? Because we all have that where you're comparing yourself to something that looks perfect on Instagram. um or it's actually something that I am trying to daily remind myself of now and allow some of my content to be a little bit more raw and not have just like a resting bitch face all the time. That's my go-to. It's really hard to be posting like cheesy smiles all the time because it's just like you don't see that many pictures of me like that. But it's interesting. Like you have to really be aware of the image you're giving off, also because I know how it feels to scroll Instagram and just be like, my life is shit. I am not doing enough, or yeah.
Especially
It,
during this pandemic, I'm like, should I be home? But then, like, all these people are going to Tulum, and what am I supposed to be doing right now? But I understand your balance. I just previously shared, and I think I've talked to you about this before, about all of my hormone and thyroid issues and how it just really affected my body. And on one hand, people trust you because you're in phenomenal shape and you know what you're talking about. And so it was hard for me to try and be in this fitness realm where I personally didn't like what I looked like. I didn't feel like I represented my knowledge or education in fitness. And then having to also be transparent without someone, I guess, judging me one way or the other. And
Mhm.
it is very hard to find that balance because
Yeah.
not only are you judging other people, but other people are judging you. And it's just this like cycle that you can't get out of.
Oh, it's a vicious cycle. I also think that I have I think you're anyone that's okay, has any sort of presence on Instagram or social media or anything, you're gonna have the audience that resonates so much with what you're saying and appreciates it so much. And you can literally be like changing people's lives with some of your content. And then there's gonna be people that absolutely despise you and think that you are the fakest, you know, scum of the earth. You're the problem with America. Like this is you're gonna have both, and then you're gonna have everything in between. And I have come to accept the fact that I'm not for everybody, and nobody is. And there will be loyal people that just like really that I really resonate and really can help. And like it's been really cool to do the one-on-one client programs because I actually get to talk to them on the phone and speak with them on video and hear about their lives and actually be like, oh, holy shit, they actually listen to what I'm saying.
And I make an impact.
Yeah,
Probably the
like
big
it's like, whoa, like they actually really appreciate what I bring to the table, and I'm actually affecting them. And whoa, like that's so cool. Where I wouldn't normally get that, like, because you might have, you know, thousands of followers that are literally like, can't wait for you to post and love everything and eat it all up, but will never say that to you. You'll never actually have that conversation with them. And I started realizing it once I started working individually with people across the country and across the world that was like, oh, I really can make an impact. And then try not to worry about everybody else that's triggered by you in some way or judging you in some way, because it's really not about you. It's about what they have going on with themselves. So you can't take on other people's stuff. So it's been a lot of therapy and mental health work to come to that place of just being like, okay, like try not to judge myself and just try to show up as authentic as possible. And that's all you can do.
So you talked about it a little bit, and we talked about it kind of before we started this interview about mental health. And I truly believe that you could pick anyone off the street and they would tell you a story, and there's been some sort of trauma, there's been some sort of event that someone has had to overcome.
Mhm.
Yet there's all of these successful people, there's all of these happy people. And so I truly believe that there is a victim victor mentality.
Mhm.
And I think that so many people are so quick to just be like, oh, I'm the victim. Oh, me. Everyone's mad at me. Everyone hates me. And just kind of forget about everything else, about the positivity, about the people that love them, about the people that are talking good about them. So, that being said, what are kind of your mental health tips? I know you post a lot of pictures and a lot of stories about mental health tips and being positive and body positivity. And I know that we all read these and we repost them, but just from you, I'd like to hear kind of what you do personally.
So I think the biggest difference, like the biggest differentiating factor, okay, the biggest differentiating mantra, I guess you would say, between a victor and a victim is a victim is going to say, this is not fair. Like, this is not fair. A victor is going to say, I had a part in this, right? So I think the biggest thing that I've had to learn, because totally can get into victim mode and just be like, this is not fair, and like nobody is like, this fucking sucks, and like this is not cool, and like why is shit so hard on me, and nobody even would think it's hard for me, but blah blah blah. Like I go down the rabbit hole of victimhood sometimes, and then I have to check myself and be like, where do you need to take responsibility and accountability for the situation that you're in right now? Anything that feels unfair, you did take a huge part in getting yourself to that place. And yes, there are horrible things that happen. You know, great people get cancer, just that are the most amazing people. You can't say that everything is your fault. However, you have to take responsibility for everything that happens in your life, good or bad. And you have to know, even if it's just your mindset or this stuff, whether it's like a health problem, okay, how much did you contribute to that with your diet and your lifestyle habits and whatever?
Absolutely.
If it's, you know, bad things that happen to you, horrible people that come in your life and do horrible things to you, it's like, okay, well, did you see red flags
Did
from
you
these
allow
people?
them to stay in your life?
Yeah. Did you allow this relationship to become, um, you know, a big part of your life when you really should have cut that off and you kind of knew you should have cut it off? Did you listen to your intuition, or did you ignore your intuition and betray yourself? And now all of a sudden you are a victim of terrible things. So it's like there is so much responsibility that you have to take, even when it doesn't feel fair. And I think that is the only way you're going to turn into a victor out of the situation, because shitty things happen. It is what it is. It's really what you do with it, because there are certain things that will happen to certain people and they'll just crawl out into a little ball and just like want to die and disappear. Um, and they'll let it win. Or you'll say, this totally sucks. this is what I could have done better, and this is what I will never ever do again. And it will make me stronger, because the things that don't break you really do make you stronger. And it's an opportunity for growth at that point. So you're either going to take it as an opportunity to let it crush you, or you're going to turn it into an opportunity for you to get stronger, better, sharper, you know? So I think that's the biggest difference, is the mentality of like what you do with the shit that happens.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know everyone goes through something. And maybe
Mm,
if you do start to feel that victim mode, you need to realize if everyone was just a victim in life, the world would be in chaos. I mean, everyone would just be sad. And so
yeah,
you kind of realize like
getting very dark.
it just
Sorry.
but it's like,
No, like the light. I'm like,
yeah,
you see me?
yeah.
I'm
The sun
sorry.
went down.
The sun's up
Daylight
now.
savings time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so people need to realize, and I mean, this is like the Idaho slang in me, but they need to buck up a little bit and just realize that everyone goes through hard things and maybe not take everything personally. I see too many people taking things personally. Like I got shit going on. So if I'm not calling you for 2 weeks, like it's not because I don't like you. It's because I got shit going on.
Yeah, that is so important, is the don't take anything personally rule. I also try to remember that. That's a huge one. I'm just like, it's not about you. Like it really isn't about you. Like you're actually not that important to both of these people. Like, so don't take on their stuff because it's nothing to do with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to transition a little bit and talk more about your physical attributes because you are in just phenomenal shape and
Thank you.
everyone's body goals. What would you say are your top fitness tips? I know you're really into gut health, which I'm so glad that's kind of become like a thing. Now people are like really realizing how important gut health is. And so I would love for you to talk about that as well. But just your top training tips and just how important it is to be aware of what you're putting in your body.
Hmm. I think, okay, physically, top training tips, I would say, is you really hear the phrase all the time, trust the process when you're first starting to build your physique. But there really is. There's a process that you have to go through, of kind of, it feels counterintuitive sometimes, especially if you're a woman and you're like, I don't want to bulk up. I don't want my upper body to be built. I want my lower body. I only want to focus on ass and legs and core. And it's like, I had that also, but you also, and it took me, um, a trainer actually that I started working with that was like, I don't want to hear, I don't really care. Like, you're gonna lift heavy in your upper body, and we're gonna do this for months, and then you're gonna see. And at first, you go through a little bit of a phase where you're gaining muscle and you're starting to be like, oh my God, am I becoming boxy? Am I becoming too inflamed from training too hard? Am I bigger than I want to be? Am I, losing my femininity? Like, oh my God. But you keep pushing past that barrier, keep building, 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 building until you really have a solid base, like a legitimate solid base through your entire body. And then you can really get into more of a balanced training regimen of, okay, now I have sculpting, I'm doing more HIIT cardio activities. Now I can focus on target areas a little bit more, but you have to build your base through your entire body. And once I did that, like, I'm really grateful for when I was competing, because it forced me to do that. It was sort of like my own little body boot camp. But now I think my body is better than it looked even when I was competing, because I've been able to refine my body. Okay. So I was in the base building phase. And then it comes into, okay, once that happens, now you can refine it and really sculpt where you want to and really get lean. And, so I think it's just pushing through the mind fuck of like, oh my God, am I going to turn into a man? Like, you just got to go through it. And then
Every
just,
woman's biggest fear. Oh my
yeah,
God, when I work out.
just trust that it will turn out okay. But yeah, pushing past that barrier, because now, even now, like my workouts now are not as hard or intense, and I look better now than I did when I was like intensely training. um and because I had to get past that barrier, I think. For just in general, I think gut health is a huge one that I had to completely revamp my gut health. And it's something that I have to do every day. It's like a practice every single day. You can't let that become a backseat priority. Now, I would say not everyone in the world needs gut health assistance, right? Not everybody. Some people have a great healthy gut, and that's awesome for you, assholes. But but it's a very common thing that with fixing just that, you're actually doing so much for your body and for your physique and just like your mental clarity and everything. So I guess those would be like my two main ones. You
Yeah.
know, diet is huge. Like my biggest thing is inflammatory foods. Like inflammation is the root of all evil. That is what I've learned. And it's you're gonna have good inflammation, but you're also really need to always work on kind of counteracting it because that is the root of disease. That is the root of, I mean, it-
They
like
even
it,
talk about it being related to autism.
yeah, like yes, exactly. Chronic inflammation is I think the number one problem in health in general, mental health, physical, everything, weight gain, all of that. So I think really paying attention to trying to stay away from inflammatory foods as much as possible. You can still have a balance. You know, don't kill yourself. You don't have to be 100% clean all the time. You can have that 80-20, but watch the inflammatory foods and really pay attention to your body. And I always say to people, like, get your food sensitivities or food allergies tested because that is that's going to tell you where your inflammation is going to happen and where you can avoid it. And so
So there's
I
not
think,
like a standard, this food causes inflammation. Like a lot of people are different from foods to foods.
yes, there are. I mean, there are the traditional inflammatory foods like sugar, alcohol, you know, dairy can be one. But then there are a lot of additional per person, and because everybody's biochemistry is completely different and everybody's gut is totally different. So kale causes inflammation for me where, you know, a lot of other people are drinking kale smoothies all day long and it's helping them, you
And it's
know. But
super
there's
whatever. Yeah.
right. So there's certain things that were when I got my food sensitivities tested, there were so many things that I was eating every day, like almonds and lemon and kale and like cabbage. And it was like stuff that was causing so much inflammation in my system. But I thought I was feeding my body with all this, you know, good healthy stuff. And I was like spinning my wheels thinking like, how much cleaner can I get?
Like
You know,
water. I guess just water is
do you want me to just yeah, so you have to figure it out for yourself and it's individualized to everyone. So it's always something that and same with hormones, like
yeah.
hormones, your adrenals, your thyroid. That's the thing that I always say is like I'll have clients that will plateau and they're like, I don't get it, like I'm doing everything right, I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm training my ass off, and I'm not losing any weight, I'm not feeling good. I'm like, okay, first place we got to start is get your hormones tested, get an entire health panel, adrenals, thyroid, everything, because that is literally like a losing battle. If all that stuff's out of whack, you're not going to be able to run on full cylinders no matter what, no matter how perfect you are. And then with food sensitivities and food allergies, it's another huge one of just like, if you're putting stuff in your body every day that you have no idea how much like havoc is being wreaked on your body, on your internal system, then it's like a losing battle. So I always say start with that inside out, and then we can really work on perfecting your physique. So can't do it with those huge roadblocks in the way.
Yeah, I think that's some great tips that people really need to hear besides the standard, like just work harder. I think too
Hmm.
many people say that, and too many people ignore important things on the inside, and they just think, well, I'm just going to keep eating less and train harder when literally, like you said, your wheels are just spinning and you're not getting anywhere. So
Totally.
you have a couple apps that people can train with you on, and then you also do one-on-one clients, right? So if someone wants to work with you, how can they do that?
So if they want to work with me, I would go to findyourfitwithwhit.com and you can get individualized custom workout and diet plans. And then there's the option for monthly coaching calls with me also. So that's kind of where I get into, okay, what's going on with you, your system, what's going on with you as an individual, and like, how can I share some of the tools that I've learned over the years the hard way and really help implement them in your life. So, and then Fit with Wit app is my Apple app. It's a really great little, it has awesome programs, super easy to use, and it's not custom, but it's great programs and a really good place to start. And it's a little more budget friendly. So that's kind of my bag. Or you can come say hi to me on Instagram at Whitney Johns. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know that you're extremely busy, as we all are during this pandemic, the ones that are hustling at
The
least.
ones that aren't bored and sticking their thumb up their ass. Just kidding.
But I really appreciate you sitting down and talking to me and sharing all of your advice, your tips and tricks, and also some of just your background on things and why you are the way that you are. And I appreciate the inspiration that you've brought to this episode.
Thank you.
We talked about doing another one already, so I'm
Yeah.
excited to have you on in the future. And I know that people are going to really want to hear that episode. So have a great time, and thank
Love
you guys
you.
for
Yeah, thank you. My roomie. I feel like we're roomies again. Like
my
we're hanging
roommate. So we'll definitely have you on more because I know people love to hear more about you. So we will see
Thank
you
you for
next.
having me.